So today I just want to document the fact that this is a really momentous day. It's a really important day for American capitalism in what it actually means and sort of the course of what is actually going to go on going forward. It's election day. It's November 3rd of 2020. I don't want to get into politics and stuff like that because I think it's deeply political at this moment in American history. And what I want to get into instead is talk about capitalism because it's something that is really foundational to entrepreneurship. And it is discussions that we actually get into deeply so when we start taking, deep roots or to start taking deep dives into what does entrepreneurship actually mean. So if you don't know me, I'm an associate professor of innovation strategy and entrepreneurship. And I created this whole reciprocity project to give back as much as I possibly can. There were so many people to help me out that I want to pay the favor for to help you out. So, capitalism is something that we do study, and we try to get at the roots of where entrepreneurship comes from, and we really like to investigate, the institutional foundations of where these things actually come from and why some places are more entrepreneurial than others. There's a lot of really deep roots behind why things actually work or why businesses work in a certain way in different countries. So this is the first thing I actually want to talk about is the fact that, what it means to be an entrepreneur, what it means to be, quote unquote capitalist in different countries is very different. And, capitalism in the form of the institutions that we actually have right here in the United States are very much different than they are in another country, even right beside us, right? So in terms of Canada, I'm Canadian, very much different there, and they're very much different in the UK and in India, in all the different countries that, honor capitalism and in China and whatnot, there's many different sort of ways that business is actually done. That's really what we're coming down to and thinking about, how do we actually get business done? And if business is getting done in this way, how do people actually, evolve such that they can create these opportunities to solve some sort of problem in the marketplace? And the way that they do that, and what entrepreneurship is really about is creating a new organization to serve this niche or this problem that's in the marketplace at this moment. And it could occur in all sorts of domains. It could occur in many different ways in terms of solving different things. So we have social entrepreneurship, for example, where people go and they actually take a deep dive and, they try to solve some sort of social problem. Whether it is through a not-for-profit, that's probably what most people understand in terms of social entrepreneurship, or creating a new business entity, commercial entity, and solving that particular problem with a new, commercial entity. They're one and the same in terms of how they're actually solving the problem. They just go about it in a different way. And we like to take a deep dive and start thinking about that. So the first thing is to realize, again, that each individual country has its own form and how that actually develops in terms of what business looks like in the different countries that we're part of. The second thing that I want to point out, and I think we forget about this whenever we get into the political messaging and stuff like that goes on, is that all forms of organizations, whatever they look like, whether it is a social club, that you're just getting together and having a couple of beers, or whether you're creating a not-for-profit organization or a commercial entity, you're creating IBM, whether you're in a government, for example, a government institution, whether it's a state-run or provincial-run government institution or a federal institution that you've created and are part of, they all serve different parts of a larger puzzle and how to actually accomplish something in a country. And I think we get stuck on, realizing or thinking about what is the right blends of how all these things work together, right? So if we have, in the debate it's largely two-sided in terms of how we think about this. One of them is, should we have more commercial entities? And one of them is we have more governmental entities, right? So we have or a larger governmental entity, and there's a debate that goes on between them. But what we don't realize, and I think a lot of professors of business and entrepreneurship in just the larger area of people that are in business schools recognize, is that there is a wide array of different kinds of organizational entities. They come in all different shapes and sizes, and they serve different purposes. And so what you end up doing, if you take away one, or you decrease the other one, or you add more to the one side where you have more commercial entities or larger commercial entities, what ends up happening is that another organizational form comes in and has to sort of serve issues that solve problems in one particular way, right? So one kind of organization, whether it is a large business like a Google, they can only do so much because there are fundamental reasons of being human in terms of actually not being able to we can't address all issues with a Google because people have biases, individual biases, human sort of decision-making biases that prevent a large Google from sort of taking over, the country and running the country, or a large government organization running the country as a large organization. That means that there's something that's being not served correctly, because we have all sorts of, we as individuals, we have different needs and sort of different ways of actually dealing with things. And so we need a blend of all these different institutions to do these different things, right? So, give you an example of this. Let's say that there is a disaster and Google goes in and tries to solve this particular disaster. Well, that means that people have to trust entirely that Google is going to do the right thing. But a lot of people don't trust that, right? So what we need is, maybe we have a government entity that comes in and sort of controls some of that stuff and manages some of that stuff. But then there's still going to be people that are not going to trust that, right? So there's some people on that side. But so then what ends up coming in to sort of take that role is other organizational forms, say like a church or a religious organization, a not-for-profit organization might come in and solve some more of that problem. But then even still, like, there is not going to be, everybody's going to trust all 3 or 4 of those different entities. So then other people have to come in where it's just, maybe it's a social community group that's going to solve that problem. So all of these things come together and they solve larger problems or larger issues. And it is the blend of all of those things that makes the difference in society and how those all work. All the different organizations that come together and work towards solving that particular thing. So the debate in terms of should we value more of one type of organization over another? More commercial entities versus not for or government entities, a larger government entity. It's sort of missing out on a larger issue that there is a lot of different organizational forms that are out there. And it doesn't matter if you live in a country that sort of values one or the other more. There is going to be people that are out there that are going to find a way to get around those issues. That's one thing that we've seen of looking at, war-torn countries, looking at, countries that have large governments, large controlling governments, is that people do find a way and they do solve issues using different kinds of organizational forms. It's really just people getting up and realizing that, my need is not being met and I need to work towards solving that particular need, whatever that is, and trying to solve that particular thing. So these are really lofty sort of big ideas to sort of talk about today. But I really want to document sort of how momentous this is and how important it is to sort of think about how these things all come together with the election day. Because I think what is happening, it is setting a course of what the institutions in America actually look like going forward and what we actually want them to look like going forward and how this is actually going to occur. Based on the sort of, what we choose based on this election. I think it's very important to think about this. And the other thing in terms of the everydayness, and that's a large part of this channel, right, is thinking about your everydayness, is sort of what you do on a regular basis. The first thing is, obviously, if you're in the United States or you're an American citizen, I'm not. I live in the United States, but I'm still a Canadian citizen. I have a green card holder. So I can't vote in this election. So what you can do is go vote and determine where you want this country to go. The second thing is what you can do is just work. A large part of life, no matter where you are, it's not going to matter as much as you think it's going to matter. Life is going to continue on. And I know we can get caught up in all of these sort of larger debates and stuff, but the only thing that we can do as human beings is really focus on what you're doing at this moment and really take pride in what you're doing at this moment. And yes, you might work at something and 5 years down the road things are going to change and that thing doesn't work, or it's not being valued in as much as it was today. But that is okay. You got to get up and get going and keep going at the things that you're working on. I wish everything would be sort of a straightforward path and that we can sort of move forward very easily in life, but it doesn't work that way. And the only thing that you could do in your day-to-day is just do the things that you're good at and continue to get up and do those things and really live life to as much potential as you possibly can, making sure that you always have hope for the future, because I really do think the future is bright no matter what happens with the election in terms of who wins or doesn't win. The future is still really bright. There's a lot of potential in this world of 7.6 billion people. Life is still going to keep going forward, and we're going to accomplish a lot in the years to come. I think it's an amazing world we live in, and I will say that going forward, no matter what happens. So with that, give me a thumbs up if you like this video, and realize that everybody's world is different at this moment, and there's a lot that we can work on, but at the same time, the way that we work on that is by getting up and doing the same thing every single day and getting part of that routine of really taking charge of your own life. All right, so with that, give me a thumbs up, do subscribe to the YouTube channel. Take care and have a wonderful day. Bye.